questions will be shared, and on the same page you will upload your answer. So it will be easy for all of us to have a record, like this was the question, this was the homework, and on this day it was shared with you. So instead that you look and copy the question and then create a page and upload it, so you'll get a created page with question and date, everything. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so for this chapter, languages, I will share page with you. You have already done the homework, so it will be easy for you to upload. And if you haven't completed, you can complete and upload it. Right? Is it clear?
Sir, I only
Yes.
know about the 7 mark question, which was why Urdu was chosen as the national language. What's the second
Okay.
question?
Okay, no issues. What steps were taken to foster the growth of all languages? Like it's a 4 mark question, so it can be about Urdu, it can be about regional languages as well. So
Sir, we
I
have
will.
to do the questions at the end of the chapter, right? The three
Uh,
questions at the end of the chapter.
yeah, that's what I told you. But what I will do is that I will share a page with you, right? On which I will also mention the question. So you can see that these are the questions. Uh, these are questions to be done, right? So no issue like homework. I will share with you. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Today we are going to start our new section, right? The new section is section 2, which is very important. It is major section because the one we finished right now, it was like the background to what we are going to discuss now. I mean, we are going to discuss about Pakistan movement, and what we have done so far, these chapters, 5 chapters actually, this was basically background to Pakistan movement. So we discussed about Mughal rule and how did it end, and we discussed about our religious reformers who played a role in gathering Muslim community, keeping their identity, helping them to stay together with their religion and maintain their identity. Then we discussed our modern leadership following the war of independence, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who further strengthened the work of religious scholars. I mean, he further gave a sense of nationhood to Muslims. He further supported them, enabled them through educational activities and political activities that they should be able to stand and raise a voice for their rights. So all these efforts, by the end, what we call later on Pakistan movement, that Muslim Indians, you need to understand this thing that we didn't have Pakistan. So just imagine you in India before the creation of Pakistan. So after War of Independence in late 1900. Uh, so just imagine that in this situation, Muhammad Abdul Rahman, can you mute your mic, please? So the Muslims who were in India, they had, with all these efforts, because one thing which was there before was that Muslim presence in India, strong presence. And what I mean by a strong presence, that they were the rulers. So it was all good for them. They had no challenges. They were a superior class society, a community, ruling community. Everything was at their disposal. They had no threat, no identity crisis, nothing. After the end of Mughal rule, British took over, and Muslims obviously lost their importance and their status as well. So from ruling community, they came number 3, because first the British who took over replaced them. Hindus got the second place as far as the importance was concerned, because they were in majority, and Muslim now at a third, you can say, number or a rate. In this situation, the leaders, those who initially helped, and then Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So the initial job was that Muslims of India to keep their identity. That was basically they were the Muslim and they are a separate nation. From this, their conscious efforts, the realization that they are a separate community and they are up against Hindus and British, they need to defend their rights. They need to fight for their rights. They need to have a a respectable place in this society, change society. This whole thing is basically called Pakistan movement. So what we discussed so far, it was background to this movement, that this is what happened, that finally Muslims were in a shape, in a place, in a position that they could raise their voice. So Pakistan movement, basically, when we say, and this section begins with, it is from where Muslim as a community, Muslims of India as a community, were good enough, able enough, that they could stand and raise their voice for their rights, for their rights. That was the beginning of what we call later on Pakistan movement, because we then finally changed to our goal into getting a separate homeland. So this is whole background to this section. So what we just discussed was basically different aspects of getting us to this position from where we are going to start our journey to Pakistan. Is this point clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any question? It's not complicated, it's just a common sense thing. But if you have any question, like anything, please do ask.
So the Pakistan movement was not a specific party, right?
No, it's a movement. When we call a movement is basically all those activities directed to achieve some goal. Like we call it rights, women rights movement. There are so many movements which are at present going on in the world, which were there in the past. We call Black Lives Matter. Recently in America, there is a movement, because some of the some things happened, and then people got together, and this became their slogan, that Black Lives Matter. So this became a movement. So movement is basically all those activities targeted to achieve certain goals. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So Pakistan movement is not a party specific, it's not a person specific, it's an ideology specific, an idea. And what was our idea? You can say Pakistan movement basic primary idea was that Muslim of India to get a respectable place in India. That was the basic idea. And the idea remained the same. The form to, or the physical like status to get to this was changing with the passage of time. Initially they asked for rights, they asked for presence in assemblies, they asked for job quota, that we need to have this much of the jobs, they asked for education, they asked for government assistance, and finally they asked for a separate homeland. So you see that their ideology, their vision remained the same. Their goals kept changing according to the situation. And finally, we believe that our main ideology of protecting Muslim and getting them a respectable place in India was only possible in a separate homeland, not with the Indians. So that is how, when we look back, this all was directed to getting us to Pakistan finally. So this was the vision was to get Muslim. The ideology was to get Muslim a respectable place in India. This you should understand. This bottom line. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Other students, are you with me listening to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are now into, this is section number 2, Pakistan movement, and what we are into now, that we will discuss that how in this section there now in this situation, three important what you can say um important communities, or three important uh, players in this situation: British, the rulers; Muslims, a sizable important community; Hindus, the majority community. Now this was the situation after War of Independence. In this situation, Muslim got to struggle the Muslims of India had to fight for the protection of their rights in this situation. And we are going to discuss in section 2 different events happening, developments, what you call them, with through which we will understand that how did Muslim move from the point in 1857 with Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan efforts onwards to 1947. So this is 90 years of struggle. And particularly from 1900 to 1947, so almost 50 years of targeted struggle, you can say, what we call Pakistan movement. So this is we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss different events happening and through which Muslims of India got closer to their main target, and that was a separate homeland finally. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so our this Pakistan movement, just one second, Pakistan. 1906, you can say, or 1900 to 1947. This is the Pakistan movement, and we are on to chapter number 6 now, section 2. Section 2. Okay. So, are you with books?
Yes, sir.
Please,
Yes, sir.
please open page on section chapter 6, section 2.
Opened, sir.
Okay. Mm, just one second. You have this is page number
52, sir.
51, emergence of Pakistan. Like intro, I have discussed in detail, 1906 to 1947, and the 52 page, this chapter, chapter number 6. And this in this section, in this chapter, we are actually going to discuss how far did the Pakistan movement develop during the early 20th century. So development of Pakistan movement we are discussing here. Development of Pakistan movement. Okay. Now the chapter 1 to 5. What did we talk in these chapters? Main bottom line of these chapter was
British arrival, and then the movement, Pakistan movement, and Sir Syed Ahmed Khan also, and
Sir, the
no,
background of Pakistan
those
movement.
were those were the contents. No, those were the different content. But the main idea was background to Pakistan movement. We discuss from chapter number 1 to 5, whatever we discuss in these chapters. This served as background to Pakistan movement, and now we are going to discuss development of Pakistan movement. Pakistan movement basically. Can you mute your mic, please? Whose mic is unmuted? Thank you. Okay, so basically Pakistan movement, a struggle journey towards getting Pakistan a separate homeland for the Muslims of India. So that's what mean by Pakistan movement. Is it clear?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Separate homeland. There is one important thing you need to understand, that did Muslims of India at the very start, like 1900 or 1906, whatever the point in time you take, did they ask for a separate homeland? So I would say no, they didn't ask for a separate homeland. They didn't ask for Pakistan. The bottom line, as I told you, the primary objective of the Muslim of India was to get them a respectable place in India. Is this point clear to you? To get a respectable place for them in India. Okay, and as I already explained to you, that situation changed, that from rulers, after British took over, replaced them, they became a third-rate community in India. And now their primary objective was that they were an important community, they were rulers for centuries, they need a respectable place in India. So that was their objective, main whole idea. So they work for this. And getting to this respectable place in India, their goals were constantly changing. As I told you initially, they asked for protection of their rights, separate identity, place in assembly, job quota, etc. But slowly and gradually, they believed that, look, this is not working. So what we need a separate homeland. So they move slowly and gradually towards a separate homeland, and that is why we call all this Pakistan movement. I hope this is clear now, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we are starting with the actual movement begins, and we will discuss different events, and you will, keeping this all in mind, you will notice yourself that how did Muslims of India move from one point to another point, move from one goal to another goal. And and it has to be when you are up to a great objectives, you go uh, by inch, you go gradually, you achieve, your achievements count on and on and on, and finally you get to what you want. So this is what happened. So we are going to discuss different events, and through these events we will explore how did Muslim India move forward, what was their stance at this particular period of time, what they were looking for at this particular period of time in this development, how did they defend, how did they fight, how did they represent themselves, who were the important people. All this is like through the events. You please try to understand this point. Events mean a particular happening. Events mean any particular treaty signed, any particular negotiation between Hindu and Muslim and the British. Events mean any particular achievement by the Muslim community or generally. So this is what we mean by events. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And one more thing, post war India, British at the top, rulers, Hindus, majority community, and Muslims. So, as I told you, that Muslims here were looking for a respectable place in India. So they had to deal with the Hindus, they had to deal with the British, and they had to remain united, they had to remain active. So this is quite a big challenge, and that is what we are going to explore here. So that is all about the intro of this whole section, chapter 5 to chapter 10. 5 chapters. Pakistan movement, we'll cover Pakistan movement. It's basically different events, as I've already mentioned, and that's all. Do you have any question? Up till this point, any question, please?
No, sir.
Okay. So please stay attentive and pay attention to me so that you can understand these basic. This in itself is not any topic, but this encompasses the entire section, because with this basic understanding, rest of the things will make a big sense to you. Like, it's very important that you should be able to relate what you are doing, what you are studying, what you are discussing. You are able to make sense out of it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now see here that the after the War of Independence, the major development which took place was the formation of the Indian National Congress. Now, what's the Indian National Congress? Anyone?
Sir, I don't know.
Party of
Sir,
Hindus and Indians.
sir, it was
One
like
one by one. First, Ahmad Alam. Can you tell me Ahmad Alam first of all?
It is a party of Indians who want a separate homeland.
Okay. I will correct in here if there is anything. Party of the Indians. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Listen. First of all, you need to understand that All India National Congress was a political party. A political party. Now, what's the political party? A political party is a sort of platform, an organization of like-minded people, those who have common objectives, and they campaign for that. And through a democratic process, with the help of the masses, they achieve their objectives. So political parties basically to gather the masses behind a common objective. Now, this All India National Congress, because British, after their experience in the war of independence, because before their policy was quite authoritative and dictatorial. I mean, they did not give Indian. We discussed the causes of the war, any space for the Indians. They didn't give them space in the jobs and running the country, and that's why they faced opposition, and the war happened. After war, they changed because we discussed. Riyad Khan even discussed the real causes of the war, and he told the British that it's your policies, so better change them. Now, British actually after the war they adopted some sort of policies in which they want to give Indian a space, so that with this space they could like get the cooperation of the Indians, moderate Indians, at least those who did not want to fight but rather cooperate. So we should respect them and give them a space. So they introduced some political reforms in India in which they established some councils and gave Indian representation in the government, etc. For all that purposes, a political party was required which could present the views of the Indians to the government, which could present the Indians' demands, and which could give Indians platform, a platform from where they could raise their voice and speak for them. So a political party was established, which is known as All Indian National Congress. This party was to protect the rights of all Indians. When we say all Indians, please take it Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Indians together. That's a good, great step forward. And it was believed to be representing all, but it became a Hindu dominant party. And it was to be like that because, you know, in democracy, we know that it's a majority authority. Those who are in majority, they will have their say, they will have their voice, they will dominate. So same happened that Hindus dominated Congress and it became Hindu dominated party which ignored Muslims. So a party that was supposed to protect the rights of the Indians became Hindus party. And if you remember, we go back to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He educated Muslims not to join Congress, and he educated Muslims to represent themselves, because Muslims always believed that they are a separate community and that they cannot align with what Hindu majority demands. If Muslim could align with what Hindu demanded or majority demanded, then India would have not been separated. And then Muslims and Hindus could live together, and partition wouldn't have happened. But Muslims of India believed that they are different, they are a separate community, they are a separate nation, and that they cannot align with Hindus' demands. So an opposition among or between the Indians' two major communities started, and which was that Muslims then later on founded the way to actually represent themselves by their own political party. So they realized that they cannot rely on Congress, on Hindus, because Hindus are just looking for majorities' rights. They demanded things which suited to them than to the Muslims, and Muslim could not align with Hindus' demands, so they had to have a way for them, and that happened in the creation of Muslim League later on. So, did you understand this one thing? All India National Congress, what was it? What was its job? What did it do? What was the reaction of the Muslim? Is this all clear?
Yes, sir.
And one thing I tell you, and this is very interesting thing actually, and only one student is responding. What about the other students? Are you following, listening? What's going on? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible to other students as well, right? To you guys?
Yes, sir.
So please be responsive, and these are very important points, because if you understand, you will develop an interest. If you won't pay attention, won't understand, you won't develop interest, and things becomes difficult. So please be attentive. One thing you got to do is to pay attention, and only then things will happen. Like we able to understand, make sense, develop interest. When we won't listen, won't understand, we won't develop any interest. Then you start like this is difficult, or this is this or that. It happens because of this attitude. So you got to change the attitude, things will change automatically. Anyways, I will stop because it's time. So I was mentioning a very interesting thing, that support for Pakistan was more from Zian Kaleem. Can you hear me, Zian? He's left. He's left. Okay. Ahmad Alam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ahmad Alam, have you got the marks of history paper, right?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Okay, good. Zian Kaleem left. I wanted to talk to him. Okay, anyways. Okay, boys, I'm going to finish it here. What I want you to please read page 53 and 54. Yes, page 53 and 54 only up to the partition of Bengal. Can you see this is just a page, because the next page there are only 2-3 lines. Can you see this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so see you in the next class tomorrow. With this all reading done, we'll continue. So have a good day. See you.
Love, sir.
Allah
Love,
Allah
Hafiz, sir.
sir.
Hafiz.
Love,
Allah
sir.
Love is, sir.
Allah Hafiz, everyone. Allah Hafiz.